Welcome, and what a week we have ahead of us. Appreciate you joining me on Just the Truth as I broadcast from the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. So it's now a two-horse race for the GOP presidential nomination, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis suspending his campaign late afternoon yesterday. Where does this leave us in New Hampshire as I head that way a little later today? And even before Governor DeSantis made his announcements, things were not looking so well for Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis as they were challenging Donald Trump, because Donald Trump entered the weekend with U.S. Senator Tim Scott, for example, traveling to New Hampshire, endorsing the former president instead of his fellow Palmetto State candidate, Nikki Haley. Turned a few heads, and we're going to have all the details for that. We understand Governor Henry McMaster and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott traveled up on Saturday to an event in New Hampshire to be with President Donald Trump. And Nikki Haley got a surprise at a local Chick-fil-A in New Hampshire she wasn't expecting either. We got all that for you in today's episode. Just to show you how out of touch Joe Biden is, he was slammed on social media over the weekend after he shared a photo bragging about America's dream team. The photo was of he and his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris, and what's he called? The second husband, I guess. And they consider them the dream team. More on that in just a minute. Multiple utility companies across the country have asked consumers to reduce their consumption of energy in these very cold days in order to prevent blackouts and potentially being without heat. How's this going to work when we also have cars to charge, because Joe Biden wants to force all of us to purchase an electric vehicle? And it was a weekend of NFL football as the playoffs continued to narrow the field down to the two final teams who will meet in this year's Super Bowl. And the controversy is starting with the NFL announcing its pregame lineup. I got those details for you as well.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
Your story was powerful when you delivered it up at the General Assembly. People are still talking about your story.
The CON has gone away in the state of South Carolina, and I want to personally thank you.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
As I head to New Hampshire today, I hope it's not quite as cold up there as it was in Iowa. But hey, we'll make it work one way or the other. But the big news, of course, late yesterday afternoon was when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis made the announcement that he was suspending his campaign. Now, we knew something was up because he abruptly canceled all of his Sunday appearances on some of the Sunday news shows. So we kind of expected that to happen. But to hear him actually say it as the announcement that he was going to be out of the race, as it was confirmed in a video that he released late yesterday afternoon.
I am today suspending my campaign. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear. While this campaign has ended, the mission continues. Down here in Florida, we will continue to show the country how to lead.
And with his announcement, DeSantis endorsed Donald Trump, bringing a quiet end to a campaign that had long been seen as probably the most viable Republican alternative to the 45th president. Governor DeSantis said following his second-place finish in Iowa that he had prayed and deliberated on the way forward, saying that if there was anything he could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, he would certainly do it, but admitting that there's no path forward. In a statement, he said, quote, "I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. DeSantis said, although he had disagreements with Trump, notably over their respective handlings of the COVID-19 pandemic, that the 77-year-old is, quote, superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. The days of putting Americans last, of kowtowing to large corporations, or caving to woke ideology are over, DeSantis said. South Carolina State Senator Josh Kimbrell, who was the first elected official to back DeSantis in Haley's home state, immediately threw his weight behind Trump, as well as following DeSantis' announcement. In a statement to Fox News Digital, President Trump said he was, quote, very honored to have DeSantis' endorsement. I look forward to working together with him to beat Joe Biden, who is the worst and most corrupt president in the history of our country. In a separate statement, the Trump campaign insisted it is now time for all Republicans to rally behind President Trump to defeat crooked Joe Biden and end this disastrous presidency. Nikki Haley is the candidate of the globalists and Democrats who will do everything to stop America First movement, he said, from higher taxes to decimating Social Security and Medicare to open borders. She represents the views of Democrats more than the views of Republicans. It's time to choose widely, according to the statement. Haley responded in a statement of her own, saying that she wished DeSantis well before turning calls of her to clear the field for Trump. DeSantis threw his support behind Trump for the GOP nomination. She said so far, only one state has voted. Half of its votes went to Donald Trump and half did not. We're not a country of coronations. Voters deserve a say in whether we go down the road of Trump and Biden again or we go down a new conservative road, she said. New Hampshire voters will have their say on Tuesday. When I'm president, I will do everything in my power to show them they made the right decision, Haley said. Speculation, of course, about DeSantis ending his campaign was fueled by his single-digit polling numbers in New Hampshire. Of course, he didn't do so well in Iowa, although he did manage to pull off second place. His super PAC never backed down, canceled events ahead of tomorrow's first-in-the-nation primary. And as recently as Friday, DeSantis had maintained that he would continue in the race until he didn't see a path forward. He told my colleague Hugh Hewitt that he was 100% had the resources to campaign through the end of March, by which point most states will have held their Republican primary and caucuses. Trump and Haley had already acted as if DeSantis wasn't in the race, as they both were trading jabs at one another heading into tomorrow's New Hampshire primary. Coming off of his landslide victory in 2022 in Florida, Governor DeSantis was widely seen as one of the likeliest Republican to challenge Trump, even after the former president announced in 2024 following the GOP's disappointing midterm performance. The New York Post wrote, a glitch-filled campaign launched this past May on Twitter Spaces, during which audio problems and other technical difficulties prevented the online audience from hearing much of what DeSantis had to say, foreshadowed larger problems with his effort. Despite having the most financial backing between campaign and super PAC support, the DeSantis camp struggled with staffing and message strategies. The New York Post wrote the governor's campaign underwent multiple messaging resets, including the departure of DeSantis' first campaign manager, Janera Peck, in August, laid off a significant portion of their staff, and were late to start attacking Trump. Meanwhile, DeSantis started falling in the polls as Republican voters rallied around Trump as he was hit with 4 criminal indictments during 2023, leading the governor to complain last month that the former president's legal issues had distorted the GOP primary. After coming in second, nearly 30 points behind Trump in the Iowa caucus, DeSantis claimed that he had punched his ticket out of Iowa and would continue on to New Hampshire and South Carolina. With DeSantis averaging just over 6%, actually, support in New Hampshire, his team tried to claim that he could overtake Haley in her own state, despite polls in South Carolina showing him a distant third behind her and Trump. It's pretty obvious that the Trump campaign was going to have a good weekend. On Friday, U.S. Senator Tim Scott appeared at a rally with Trump in New Hampshire. The endorsement, of course, was a pretty big blow to Nikki Haley. You got to remember that Haley appointed Tim Scott to the U.S. Senate in December of 2012. Scott was serving in the U.S. House at the time. Haley and Trump have been working to get Scott's endorsement ever since the junior senator had dropped out of the race back in November. In the end, Senator Scott said that Trump deserved his support.
We need a president who will close our southern border today. We need Donald Trump. We need a president. We need a president who will unite our country. We need Donald Trump. We need a president who will protect your Social Security and my mama's Social Security. We need Donald Trump. We need a president today who will stop the crime and recklessness in the streets. We need a president who will restore law and order. We need Donald Trump. Oh, we need a president who will lower our taxes and not raise our taxes. We need a president like Donald Trump. We need a president who understands the American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need a president our foreign adversaries are afraid of and our allies respect. We need. You see, we need a president who doesn't see black or white. We see a president who sees Americans as one American family. We need. And that's why I came to the very warm state of New Hampshire to endorse the next president of these United States, President Donald Trump.
Senator Tim Scott in a very enthusiastic endorsement of Donald Trump. That was Friday evening. Of course, this endorsement will only increase speculation that Scott, the U.S. Senate's only black Republican, may be considered Trump's vice presidential running mate upon winning the nomination later this summer. What do you think about a Trump-Scott ticket? I'd love to get your comment. You can send me a quick message on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Would Tim Scott make a good part of a winning ticket? Of course, Trump is the GOP front runner. He's leading in the South Carolina polls that will for our February 24th primary. Most of the top political names in South Carolina are backing Trump rather than Nikki Haley. That includes, as I mentioned a minute ago, Governor Henry McMaster, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott, Senator Lindsey Graham, U.S. Representatives Russell Fry, William Timmons, Joe Wilson. Is Tim Scott potentially a vice presidential candidate? We'll see. We'll see. But after this weekend, how close does Haley need to come to Trump to even stay in the race to make it to South Carolina? What kind of showing does Nikki Haley need to have in New Hampshire's primary tomorrow to stay in the race? Again, your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-5639. Speaking of Furman Ford, it's never been more important than right now to support locally run businesses owned by people who live right here in the upstate in our community. Just take a look around and look at how the corporations are getting more and more powerful. New technologies like AI are changing the game even more. That's why we need to support local businesses that are built and run by people here in our community. Businesses like Furman Ford, When it comes to getting your next vehicle, choose Furman Ford. They do business the right way. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line in every single transaction, whether it's purchasing a good used vehicle, pre-owned vehicle, whether it's buying a brand new Ford, whether it's getting service. You're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get service on your vehicle, whether it's a Ford or another brand. They service all makes and models. Jim and Matthew Furman are there to help you. If you call, if you email, if you stop by, you're going to have the opportunity to have one of the Furman family members right there to help you. Furman Ford. That'd be my choice, and I hope they're your choice as well. Find them online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. One last thing before we leave presidential politics today. Nikki Haley got a reception in a New Hampshire Chick-fil-A that she wasn't quite expecting. She was confronted on the campaign trail Saturday by a young man who accused her of wasting millions of dollars on a race that she's unlikely to win. We've already covered the fact that she came in third in the Iowa caucuses. We've already covered the fact that she's expected to come in a distant second tomorrow in New Hampshire's primaries. Earlier this month, NBC News reported that Republican presidential candidates and some of their outside groups, some of these super PACs, had spent over $100 million already in advertising. Haley's campaign reportedly spent just right at $5 million on ads in Iowa, while a super PAC supporting her had spent $25 million on ads leading up to the Iowa caucuses. So she's at a Chick-fil-A, and Titus Frost, who filmed this encounter and put it on X, wrote that Haley was not too happy to be asked why she's wasting so much money on TV ads when they're homeless veterans in the U.S. and she's going to lose to Trump anyway. Haley responded to the person, reminding this young man that her husband is a combat veteran and that the point of advertising is to tell the truth. Here's the exchange.
Good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, Dean. Oh, I love that. We don't get off the vote on Tuesday. It's important.
Yeah. So, can I ask you just like a tiny question?
Yeah.
Do you think it's responsible for politicians to spend like $100 million in Iowa on TV ads, which go to mainly news stations that have lied to us for years, when there's homeless veterans out there that could use that money? When you didn't even come close to beating Trump, and you spent like $100 million in TV ad money?
Do you know my husband's a veteran?
That's fine, but I'm just saying. I'm
and
asking
do you know that
you,
when the media doesn't tell the truth, the whole reason you put commercials on is to tell the truth because the media doesn't?
My point is, you're not going to beat Trump, and
you know
all
what?
of the money you're wasting could go to better causes.
I appreciate
that would make
that.
the Republican Party actually.
You know what? Last I saw it was a democracy. So we're going to keep working for a good democracy. We're going to work for freedom. But thank you for your service.
And there she's moved on. The video was shared on social media, praised by Trump supporters. In another post, Frost said that if the end result of this is politicians stop wasting money on TV ads and try to help the citizens of this country, we'd all be much better off. President Biden was slammed on social media over the weekend after he shared a photo bragging about America's dream team. You're going to love this. First, let me tell you about PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. I've been sharing with you my journey and my success with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition for over 3 years now. I got a message on Facebook over the weekend where a longtime friend of mine said that she had been hearing about my success with PhD, decided she's going to try it herself. And that's what I would encourage you to do as well, because I was able to lose 30 pounds pretty quickly. I started the program in just after the 4th of July, and by late November or so, I had lost 30 pounds, and over 3 years later, I've been able to maintain that, because this is not a fad diet. This is all about the science of nutrition. They teach you about food, what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat, and your relationship with food. And we're all different. So there's no two programs alike here. You're going to have a coach who's going to walk you through this, who's going to help you decide what you need to eat to get your body back where it needs to go. And there's a lot of side benefits as well. In addition to losing the weight, you're going to sleep better. You're going to be able to focus. You're going to be able to do things, have the energy to do things that maybe you haven't been able to do in a long, long time. Let me encourage you to do what my friend has done. Give them a call right now, 864-252-4925, 864-252-4925. Set up your appointment, sit down, talk with them, and see if PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition is right for you. Find them online as well at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So users took to X to loudly dispute the statement that President Joe Biden, or whoever does his social media, I don't think Joe Biden even knows how to post to X. You know, I really think Donald Trump probably does a lot of his posting. I don't know that Joe Biden has really ever just posted something himself. But there's a photo of his wife Jill, Vice President Kamala Harris, and her husband, second gentleman Doug Emhoff, out in front of the White House. The picture depicted the four of them standing in front of a White House doorway. Biden's caption indicated that he was sharing the photo to commemorate 3 years to the day that he and Vice President Harris were inaugurated. He wrote 3 years with this dream team. Despite Biden's characterization of the dream team, the president's approval rating hit a record low in January, with only 1/3 of the country telling ABC News Ipsos poll that they approve of his job performance. Not only is this poll a record low for Biden's presidency, it's the lowest approval rating of any president in over 15 years. And he thinks this is the dream team? Again, it shows you just how out of touch Joe Biden is. Many of the comments on Biden's post reflected his unpopularity. Let's start with conservative commentator Paul Shripala. He ripped the president, stating, "This isn't a dream team, it's a nightmare. The Biden administration has ruined the U.S. border and economy. Shame on Joe Biden for celebrating his 3 years. He should be apologizing and resigning. No wonder Biden's approval is at historic lows." Author and Red State columnist Buzz Patterson responded to the photo, asking, "Whose dream? Not my family's." Hollywood actor and conservative Dean Cain shared a GIF which asked, "Are you ready for some BS?" And Hot Air associate editor Karen Townsend simply replied to the image, "Nightmare." Gerald Celente slammed Biden on behalf of Palestinians, writing, "Nightmare team for Palestinians." Market analyst and political commentator Jeff Carlson added, "A team of puppets. 3 horrific years resulting from a fraudulent fake presidency, open borders, tens of millions of illegals, destruction of major cities, inflation, corruption, wars, debt, a weaponized DOJ, national division, and targeting of your political enemies." Is dream team an adjective that you would use to describe the Biden administration? Look, you're all creative. So send me some of the adjectives that you would use to describe the Biden administration. Keep it clean. Send them to the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. What do you say in response to Joe Biden thinking that he and Kamala Harris are the dream team? How would you describe the Biden administration? You can email me as well, joey@joeyhudson.com, or call and leave a quick voice message, 864-477-5639. Leave your voice message, and we'll share some of those on tomorrow's edition of Just the Truth. So it was a weekend of NFL football as the playoffs continued to narrow the field down to the 2 final teams who will meet in this year's Super Bowl. And the controversy is starting with the NFL announcing its pregame lineup. It's not surprising, is it? The NFL announced that its lineup for the Super Bowl will feature "Lift Every Voice and Sing," which is known as the Black National Anthem. It's been played at a number of Super Bowls since it stirred controversy on social media when it was first played a few years ago. This year, the NFL said the song will be performed by Grammy-winning R&B singer Andra Day. My friend and radio colleague Larry Elder was among the first to speak out. He said, "Sigh," in quotations. "While they're at it, how about the University of Michigan fight song?" He wrote on X. One NFL fan wrote in response to ESPN Adam Schefter's post saying, "Bro, we're American. Why do we need to lift every voice and sing?" he said. Nicole Hanna argued that the U.S. already had a white national anthem. Others wondered what would happen if Americans had a white national anthem. Why do we have to be divided over our national anthem? Is it not something that all of us can be proud of, regardless of the color of our skin? This Hannah Jones pointed to a 2016 Smithsonian article on the composer saying the white national anthem is played. It was written by a racist enslaver who believed black people were inferior and fought abolitionists in the courts. It did not become our national anthem until the 1930s, partially because the song itself has racist lyrics. You all really should not boast your historical ignorance so loudly in an effort to constantly be aggrieved about the country you remain atop of. What is racist about the national anthem? Can somebody explain that to me? According to the article, the NFL played the black national anthem starting in the 2020 season following the death of George Floyd. The incident, of course, started a wave of actions against racial injustice. There were a lot of protest riots in the street. The NAACP began to promote Lift Every Voice and Sing as the black national anthem way back in the early 1900s. We also learned that Reba McEntire will be singing the real national anthem, and Post Malone will sing America the Beautiful. On the Furman Ford text line, a lot of good comments over the weekend. Thank you for those. Yours is welcome always. 864-477-JOEY. Tony asked a good question. Joey, why do Democrats keep talking about saving democracy when they're the ones who are taking away democracy? They don't see it that way, though, Tony. Christy says, good morning, listening to the podcast, and I'm to the part about these idiots trying to tie Donald Trump's hands as president. It's good to know they think that he's going to win as well, and they'll spend all the money to keep themselves out of trouble. Those folks don't care about the American people, and the quicker they figure out that, the better off we'll all be. They're like the Wizard of Oz, all smoke and mirrors. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Have a blessed day and stay warm this cold weekend. I think that Iowa weather followed you home. I think so too there, Christy. Pam writes, regarding the woman who contacted you about selling property from your friend's estate, my response to her would be 2 words, one of which would not be Nana Hudson approved. I get that. She's referencing, I received a letter. If you missed Friday's edition of Just the Truth, go back and listen. I received a letter from a lady who wants to, who's very, she understands that I lost someone. I'm the personal representative of a dear friend who passed away last summer. And she says, I realize it may not be perfect timing, but I'm wondering if there's any property that you're going to be selling as part of the estate. And so I shared that letter with you. Susan writes on the Furman Ford text line, I'm really looking forward to another week of your great podcast and Trump skunking Haley in New Hampshire Tuesday. I'm glad that DeSantis has seen the handwriting on the wall and is endorsing Trump. At least it won't get as cold up there as it was in Iowa. That windbreaker Mike was kidding you about ought to keep you warm enough up there. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. Our text of encouragement today, change your thoughts and you change the world. God bless. Thank you for that as well. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-5639. You can also leave a quick voice message. Emails welcome at joey@joeyhudson.com. So with Joe Biden wanting to force everyone to buy an electric vehicle. How will that work during future winter storms like the ones that we're experiencing with utilities companies across the country asking customers to reduce their energy consumption or face a potential blackout? What are we going to do when we have a hard, cold winter like this and you got half the nation trying to charge their cars too? We'll talk about that in just a minute. Portions of today's show brought to you by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Are you tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff who have absolutely no appliance knowledge? I buy all of my appliances from Discounted Appliance Warehouse because all I have to do is talk with Jeff or Johnny or one of the great team members at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Tell them what I need, and they can help me. They can walk me through the process and help me pick the appliances that is right for me, whether it's for my own home or for one of my rental properties or for Nana Hudson or somebody else. They have an A-plus Better Business Bureau, nearly perfect reviews on Google, and they have the knowledge that you need that you'll have confidence that you're making the right purchase. They'll show you around their warehouse. It's about 11,000 square feet, packed with about 1,500 appliances, so you're not going to have to wait weeks or months to get your appliance. Discounted Appliance Warehouse is worth the short drive to Pickens. Online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. During this past week's cold weather, and we've had some cold weather around the nation, utility companies have asked customers to reduce their energy consumption to avoid blackouts. This cold weather has also harmed infrastructure and led to power outages. Energy experts say that the problem of running out of electricity is something that is a reality. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, known as ERCOT, which oversees the state's electricity grid, issued warnings that Texans should limit their electricity between 6 a and 9 a Central Time. In a letter the company sent out, it said, this morning, ERCOT avoided emergency operations due to the conservation efforts by Texas residents and businesses combined with additional grid reliability tools. The company had issued the same conservation warning a week earlier. Texas wasn't alone. Other utilities, Pacific Northwest, faced energy shortages as a result of the cold snap, as did utilities in Minneapolis. As the chill descends on the southeast, the Tennessee Valley Authority also asked its customers to reduce their energy use. I've had a couple of people email me and tell me that they got similar notices from Duke Energy. David Blackman, energy analyst who publishes Energy Absurdities, told Just the News that he blames the problem on increasing reliance on wind and solar. Weather has always brought down electric lines and caused disruptions in electricity service, but Blackman said these problems with electricity supply are something new. He wrote, I lived in Texas my whole life. We never had any reliability issues in our power grid in the state of Texas until we started piling wind energy into our grid. When you overload the grid like we've done in Texas, your grid manager is going to be in great distress whenever the weather's not ideal. According to snapshots of ERCOT's fuel mix, Blackman, he posted these on his website, Energy Absurdities. At 5:49 a.m. Central Time one day last week, wind was providing 6.5% of Texas energies, and solar was producing less than 0.1%. Natural gas, coal, and nuclear energy was providing 93.2% of Texas's power. Also last week, just after 7 a.m. Central Time, I think this was on Tuesday, wind was up slightly to 12.5%. Natural gas, coal, and nuclear energy provided 86.5%. Blackman wrote, well, here we go again, sitting in our living rooms in sweaters with our thermostats turned down to 66 degrees. You go back to February of 2021 when we had Winter Storm Uri, which led to widespread blackouts in Texas. 69% of Texans lost power at some point during the event, according to his website, which contributed to over 200 deaths. During the storm, natural gas was a key part of the state's energy mix, but a lack of investment in weatherization led to widespread failures of gas facilities. In response, the state adopted rules to ensure the facilities wouldn't be shut down in extreme cold events. Blackman said he was without power at his home for 4 days during this winter storm. Across the country, utilities have replaced much of their coal-fired electricity generation with natural gas, which has resulted in lower carbon dioxide emissions. However, natural gas is also used in many states as a primary heating source, according to the story. In Texas, 34.2% of households use natural gas for heating. 61.5% use electricity. During cold weather, besides the increased demand for electricity, there's an increased demand for natural gas to heat homes. This means natural gas supplies gets diverted from electricity generation, leading to increased risk of these blackouts. It also tends to hike prices as well. And he goes on giving the reasons why we need to continue to invest in things other than wind and solar, because they're just not reliable in these very cold winters. Not to mention the fact that if Joe Biden reaches his goal of having more than half of the vehicles sold to be electric vehicles, imagine what our electric grid is going to look like when you got people trying to keep their homes warm, but also charging their electric cars so they can drive to the grocery store. None of it makes sense, does it? 864-477-JOEY. That's our Furman Ford text line. Your comments are welcome. One last thing before we end today's show. I got this via Facebook messaging from Bonnie and Billy. It's a story called The Mule Traders. I got to share it with you. Curtis and Leroy saw an ad in the Herald Citizen in Cookeville, Tennessee, the story goes, and bought a mule for $100. The farmer agreed to deliver the mule the next day. The next morning, the farmer drove up and said, "Sorry, fellas, I've got some bad news. The mule died last night." Curtis and Leroy replied, "Well, then just give us our money back." The farmer said, "Can't do that. I went and spent it already." They said, "Okay, then bring us the dead mule." The farmer asked, "Well, what in the world are y'all going to do with a dead mule?" Curtis said, "We're going to raffle him off." The farmer said, "You can't raffle off a dead mule." Leroy said, "We sure can. Heck, we don't have to tell nobody he's dead." So the story goes, a couple weeks later, the farmer ran into Curtis and Leroy at the grocery store and asked, "Well, what'd you fellas ever do with that dead mule?" They said, "We raffled him off like we said we were going to do." Leroy said, "Shucks, we sold 1,000 tickets for $2 a piece and made a profit of $1,998. The farmer said, "Well, my goodness, didn't anyone complain?" Curtis said, "Well, the feller who won had the winning ticket got upset, so we gave him his $2 back." Curtis and Leroy, according to the story, now work for the Joe Biden administration. They're overseeing vote count, bailout, and stimulus programs. Thank you for sharing that with me on Facebook, Bonnie and Billy. Just look me up on Facebook, search for Joey Hudson, and if you have a story, send it to me. You can email it to me, joey@joeyhudson.com. You can text it to me on the Furman Ford text line. That's it for today's Just the Truth. Appreciate you joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't already joined our mailing list, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails with the most up-to-date news. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Back again tomorrow from New Hampshire with a full report on the New Hampshire primary and what we'll be looking at. You can also listen in to the Mike Gallagher Show. Find us at MikeOnline.com or just search for Mike's app online as well so that you can listen to our coverage of the New Hampshire primary. Until then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.